Another sign of just how extreme J.D. Vance and Donald Trump's policies would be in another term. Vance indicated he and Trump would revive the horrific policy of family separation in an interview with NBC's Meet the Press. Take a look.
Will families be separated under your mass deportation policy?
I think that families are currently being separated, and you're certainly going to have to deport some people in this country. Now, I think you start with
yes?
there was a zero tolerance policy during the Trump administration, and that led to less family separation than under Kamala Harris's border policies. That's what's so striking about this. Actually enforcing our border is the most humane thing for children and certainly for American citizens.
But I don't hear you denying that families will be separated.
Wrong. It's all wrong. Republicans don't have to control the presidency to work to keep families apart. Earlier today, NBC News reporting that a group of undocumented immigrants and their families are seeking to intervene in a lawsuit filed by 16 GOP state attorneys general. These Republican AGs are seeking to block a program to allow undocumented immigrants who are the spouses of U.S. citizens to, stay with their families while working towards green cards and citizenship. We are back with Claire and Mara. Claire, what I think is frustrating to those of us who follow the news, who've read Project 2025, who've listened to Donald Trump in his own words, is he has promised this. He has promised to deport immigrants on the interior of this country, some of whom have been here their entire lives, some of whom have built families and businesses. So they want to say that and stir up their base. And then when Welker asks about whether or not they're going to separate families, like, I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe a handful here and there. No, you've made a promise that this will be millions of people inside this country.
Yeah. They actually had signs they held up at the Republican National Convention. Mass deportation. I mean, it's crazy. And by the way, he's just making that stuff up, that somehow the current policies separate more families than they did under the Trump administration. I don't recall seeing screaming children being ripped from their mother's arms at the border under the Biden-Harris administration. The reason is it didn't happen. So, and the other thing, Leisha, I think we sometimes forget to talk about is what this does to families across America. Mm-hmm. There are families across America right now where people are working in good faith to get a green card, to get their citizenship. They've been in this country for years. They have children in school. They have good jobs. They're paying their taxes. They're participating at their church and in their neighborhood. They're doing everything America would want of them. And what this does, when you have promises of mass deportation, we had a Republican in Missouri said he was going to shoot them all. In a political ad, said he was going to kill immigrants that were here illegally. What that does to their quality of life, it's just cruel. It is the anxiety and the tension that creates within their families and in their lives is untenable. Yes, we have to control the border. And if Trump really wanted to control the border, he would have bought the most extensive border bill that had ever been negotiated in my lifetime, that would have added more resources. It would have stopped fentanyl. It would have drastically cut down on asylum claims. But he didn't care about that because he thought it wasn't going to help his campaign. So give me a break. Lay off hurting families and giving them this kind of stress.
Here's the thing, Mara, just to connect some dots, which is they talk constantly about being pro-family, and yet they didn't want to expand the child tax credit that lifted lots of children and lots of families out of poverty. They don't want to protect IVF services in this country, and they don't want to keep American families together in the form of parole in place. What then does it mean to them to be pro-family?
Well, you saw this last week when you saw women who had had miscarriages in states that had banned abortion, who nearly died and have recounted their stories very bravely in the months and years since, saying without health care, without accessing the abortion services that I needed when I had a miscarriage, I would not be able to get pregnant again. And so, we actually saw someone from the Texas delegation was there at the DNC last week pregnant because she had gotten access to those services. So this isn't about a pro-family agenda. This is about cruelty and about xenophobia and racism.